Hey guys, welcome back to my workbench and world of modeling. Dan here as always. And in this video we're going to be reviewing what I've gotten done in the month of June, which is now coming to a close. We're moving very quickly into the month of July. Again, the year is just flying by right now. And I've been trying to make the most of it. I'm working on lots of sulfur cars. I've been working out on the layout again too. I'm actually making some pretty good progress out there, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit here. I don't have too many models to show today. I have moreover stuff that's kind of in the works, so I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of that stuff today. These three are the most recent cars I just finished, and these are really nice sulfur cars. As I've been really sifting through my fleet of these things and finishing up my train, I've been trying to really go into a little bit more detail for each car. Rather than what I was doing, where I was just kind of rushing through to try to get unit train ready cars done with a minimum of weathering detail. Only the basics and some decal changes, car number changes here and there. These are a lot more detailed. So the first one I did is an CIGX car. This one is custom numbered. I had to change a lot of the data on it, and you can see it's got a really glossy, fresh finish on it. Making it look like it was a refurbished car. Not a new car, but a refurbished car. Notice that the trucks are still old and grimy, the couplers are still dirty, and there's some kick-ups starting to form again on the underbody, and there's also little patches underneath the paint where you can kind of see some scratched up areas or little rust pitted areas that they just simply painted over. So that's why the paint on this looks a little funky. It's nice and glossy and clean, but a lot of times on these repainted cars, you see areas where you can still see rust underneath that paint that'll soon bubble up through the paint coating and re-rust again. So that's what I was trying to go with here. So I renumbered the car here. I made it a 5-digit instead of a 4-digit, which is what it originally was. Just weathered up the trucks here, put all the grime and mud kick up on the trucks there. Lots of powder work there. Pretty much the same thing on the opposite side here. The opposite side's a little bit cleaner though. Still looks really nice. So that's a nice car there. That'll be going out there. And this guy here is a TCPX. This is one of the bright yellow cars. And just like all the others, I had to really fade this down to get it to where I needed it to be. So I did a fade coat first. Then I went in and did all the grime work. I painted the weld seams with rust and basically a rust wash of burnt umber oil. The underbody kick-up spray, these thin lines, is a lot of the spray up and a lot of the runoff from the top of the car. That was all done using heavy rust streaks, basically done with the fine tip brush like this. I hand painted each individual line, and then I took a flat brush and streaked them up on the underside of the car to make that really unique kick-up effect. And that's something you see a lot on these cars, and I wanted to model that. You can see I did a lot of stencil modification where there's repatched areas of stencil and data changed there. New molten sulfur stencils, new car number safety striping. Again, lots of grime on the underbody, tons and tons of grime. Weathered up the trucks. The top of the car has this really nice rust halo effect, and then there's a lot of darker rust streaking down from the hatch and some molten sulfur spillage. And you can also see there's a lot of fine little rust pits and dots on the top there as well. All that looks really nice. It's just a multitude of different techniques to enhance each other there. Kick up on the ends, of course. If I can show you guys that. Also added the new 2448 hazmat decal there. And then on the opposite side here, subtle variations on the stencil changing here, but otherwise pretty much the same process of weathering per side. You can see the difference again in the stencil patching, difference in the rust, lots of that streaking on the underside of the car. The lettering is starting to peel off a little bit, but still really cool. So that's a really rusty older car. I think these were originally from '01 or '02, so it's definitely grimed up, but it's in a lot better shape than some of these have turned out. Most of these are repainted now, but I still wanted to have at least a couple of yellow cars for my train. So there's another one there. The next one I did is a TILX, and this is just another standard TILX unit, custom numbered. Lots of grime work on the trucks. The whole car has the nice grime coat done. Lots of rust on the manway area, sulfur splatter, new safety striping, and then you'll notice the really interesting patchwork done here where again they changed the stencils over time and updated them. New hazmat code there, the new molten sulfur stencil, all that nice patchwork there of course, and you can see I streaked the patchwork in to make it look like it's just starting to weather over, making it look like it's not so new. That was a crucial feature I wanted to do on this. On the opposite side, pretty much the same thing. This has a nice big rust streak on the side there, and lots of splatter on this side as well. And again, there's a bit of a difference in the patchwork there, as you can see. All that looks really nice though, and then the old hazmat contact number there is starting to peel away a little bit too. So overall, really nice work on this one. That's the 3 that I just got done, and I'm already starting to work on the next 2, which I'll pull in shot here. These are going to be GATX 5-digit car number. I got to order some data sheets to do the updated data, but you can see I've already removed all the numbers and lettering. So these are prepped to basically become GATX cars, essentially, and you can see on the ends there as well. These will have some different stenciling, things modified there. So those will be the next cars I work on. While I'm showing you guys some cars that are not yet completed, I'll show you guys these. These are some ADMX cars that I just got, both Trinity cars. These were one of those eBay steals. I got 5 of these for 100 bucks. They were cheap because they were missing a few parts and they didn't have boxes, but that's okay with me. So I'm going and sorting through all these and weathering them according to some photos I found. These are all going to be the older ADM style cars, so these are going to have a little bit of rust, streaks down the sides. You can see I've already started beating up the ADMX logos, making them look nice and faded. They're just levels of fading that are slightly different per car there, as you can see. Here's the opposite side there with that bit of fading. And then on this side you can see it's all pretty beat up. So that's the first thing I did, and then I also prepped with a grime wash on top and on the underbays. That's something I did with both of these. So hopefully by the next video these will be completed and they'll look really nice. I might even sell these off when I'm done with them, but we'll just see how it plays out. Moving on to some gondolas, I have some of these high-side trash cars that I've completed. I have most of my Otter Valley guns completed at this point. I really like these cars. And they really actually weather in detail really nicely. Here you can see I've done the first 2 Cardella cars, CWSX reporting mark cars, with custom loads and custom weathering. Now these cars aren't that old, but they are getting a little beat up, and a lot of them are starting to get graffiti and lots of stains. So in my typical manner, what I've done here is I've gone in and I've hand painted all of the rust work on the side. All these little individual dings, scrapes, and gouges are hand painted using oils. In this case, raw sienna and burnt umber to create the fresher rust. This is mostly new rust. Especially on this top cord, on the ends, on the end plates, there's a lot of this rust. You can see it's starting to form. Some of the lettering is starting to beat up a little bit. I added some hand painted or hand drawn graffiti, weathered up the trucks and underbody with lots of mud because the trucks get very muddy. And you can see there's all kinds of little bits of scribble. There's a lot of little stains and streaks of garbage juice, if you will, all over the side. Some of this is done with oil paints, black oils rendered with a little thinner. And in other spots, for the drier look, I used black powder. I just dab it on here and there and then streak it down, and it creates this interesting little rain wash streaky effect that you can see on the camera now. On this one I added this patch repair here. There was some kind of collision damage that they repaired on these ribs, so I modeled that. And on the opposite side again you got pretty much the same thing, a little bit of fine graffiti down the sides. I still got to add the safety striping to these 2 in particular, but other than that they're pretty much finished in terms of weathering, or at least as far as I want to take them in terms of weathering, because again they have details but they're not insanely rusted up or anything just yet. This one has a lot more mud splatter on the side. That's achieved with oil rendering again, and you can see, let me zoom in here, you can see the black garbage juice streaking down the side. Again, nice dirty trucks. And on this side here you can see again all the mud splatter just starting, and the rust streaks, of course. All that's starting to form and it's looking pretty good. The loads are really nice on these 2. I used foam cutouts, foam cores, and then I added all of my real CND demolition mixed with some styrene scrap and other debris, and then I wrapped these in the tool fabric and glued them in place, and you can see that they look really, really nice. They really give these cars a sense of weight. in a sense. These are pretty heavy in real life, and so I like the look that these have. Everything is really nicely glued down and taut in place, so I'm pretty happy with those. That's the first two Gondola cars, and if I can pull out the next two, these next two are done the exact same way, and they all have little bits of gouging, scraping, and some side damage, of course. Nicely weathered trucks, custom loads, of course. Move on to this side here. This one's probably the cleanest out of all of them. You can see it's very, very clean. There's not much going on here. On the end, you can kind of see the weathering I was going for. You get the kick up on the ends, and then a little bit of gouging and scraping on those end plates. Other than that, they're still relatively fresh, so I tried not to go too crazy. But some of these are getting pretty beat up now. I've seen some with some pretty decent rust, even some that already have fire damage from being set on fire. But I'm not going to be modeling any of those. Those are pretty extreme. This one here has a little bit more emphasis on the beat up lettering. You'll notice the lettering. Notice the side scrapes on the ribs there. And then you'll also notice this heavy black stain streaking. I have no idea what it is, but one of the cars that I photographed at a real landfill facility in Fostoria had this stain, and I actually protocopied that, and I used black oil paint and rendered that with thinner. Did some splatter to accompany it a little bit. Same thing on this car here. Nice dirty trucks, custom load. On this side here, a little bit more construction demolition garbage juice, a little bit of dust and mud kind of splattered all over the side, but you know, relatively clean. Dirty trucks, that good stuff. This one has the safety striping applied. And then again, these two have the custom made C&D loads, made the exact same way as the first two. These next two cars are relatively clean WINX gondolas. These are the Winx reporting mark cars, and I'm seeing tons and tons of these getting shipped out west here now. And I weathered these ones according to photos. I actually took photos of several of these cars at the landfill facility in Fostoria, Ohio, where they're dumped. And I just tried to do the fine splatter and streaking. These are pretty much fresh out of the shop, and they already have graffiti. That was something I tried to do on all of these. Not much on the ends other than kick up. This side has a little bit more extensive graffiti, as you can see, and then you have a little bit of that load spill and staining on the sides. That's pretty common on these, especially more prominent on the gray ones because you can really see it. Kept the bearings blue. I wanted to make these look like they were still relatively clean. So now these two have open top loads. These are not fitted with nets. Some of these cars have the netting and some of them don't. And someone was asking me a question a while back about that, wondering what was going on with that. That's something you see on these cars. Some of them have that netting and some don't. And you can see it's really nice having real C&D material and then mixing it with scrap because it really scales down well where it looks just like the real material. So if we zoom in, or out rather, move this one out. This one is done the same way, although there's a little bit more mud splatter on the side of this one. Bear with me here, guys. I'm having to zoom in and out a lot here, but it's kind of important to get all the details into this. But you can see all the mud splatter, all the grime on the trucks. It's all very effective at creating a realistic look. And there you can see all the nice C&D demolition debris inside that. Very, very nice. And I've saved the best for last in terms of these gondolas. These are two custom painted CIGX cars, and these are absolutely beat to shit. These are the real old 6400 cars that came out in the early 2000s. 2005, 2006 to be exact. And of course these ended up going to CIGX, patched up, and they haul the C&D open top style again. Although I have seen some of these with the netting. But there's a lot to talk about on the side of this one. As you can see, the first thing I did after I custom painted them was I put in all the data. I had custom CIGX decals made, this font with the numbers. All that's custom made by, what is it, Circus City Graphics. He did the decals for me there. I hand painted each individual gouge and slash and streak on the panels here, as you can see. All that is nicely done. I added the safety striping and I did the hand-painted graffiti. Lots of graffiti on all of these. Lots of dirt and grime on the trucks. The top cord is really chewed up there, as you can see, with all that rust. On the ends, lots of rust damage. It's bent on the top cord there, lots of kick up. On that end there as well, there's a lot of graffiti too. And then on this side, you again have all the hand-drawn and hand-painted graffiti complemented with all that fine rust. And that's quite a bit of work. It's going back, layering and layering and layering. You take a break, then go back and add more. And then you let it sit overnight, let everything dry up, and then you hit it up with pretty much another layer. And that's how I did all this. It's a lot of work, but I wanted at least 2 of these, and I plan on doing one more. The first one there is done. The second one here as well. This is another CIGX. And as you can see, this car again is the same. Probably more rust actually than the other. You can see it's really beat up. The CIGX decals are all peeling off. You got a combination of old and new graffiti all starting to rust in together. This one's got the primer patches made out for the new safety striping. All that fine rust work. Take a look at that. Hours of dot rust painting right there. This one's got some unique patch repairs, new data added there. This one's got a nice big splatter of garbage juice down the side there. The top cord beat to crap again. You got the nice open top C&D load, nicely glued in place. You can see it's not going anywhere. And then if we turn to the opposite side, this one has the nice full RB Bobby graffiti piece. Now he's all over these cars. All of you New Yorkers, anyone out east that sees these cars, you'll recognize the graffiti right away. Pretty much the same process in all the weathering though. Everything's really nicely weathered in and beat up. And I think it just turned out spectacular. These cars weathered super nice. And I still got a few more to go, but these are really the centerpieces of what I want to do in terms of these kinds of cars. They just look fantastic. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end if you stick with it, because you end up with something like this. So these will look really nice on my trash train. So now to get you guys updated on the model railroad, where I'm at right now is finishing the scenery in the curved module. I call this the southwest module here. The curved turnout here, you can see we got everything ballasted. I addressed any of the cracking ballast issues for the most part, so all the ballast is nice and solid. We've taken care of that issue. You can see I've just started to lay in the static grass. This is the first layer, obviously, and you can see I've blended it in with the other module a little bit. It goes all the way around. And this is just 2mm and 4mm, or no, not 4mm, 6mm green mix static grass for this corner. This is the base. I'm going to then follow behind with a light hayish colored 12mm straw type static grass. And then I'm going to make some bushes, but I got to order more of my Scenic Express trees. They're hard to get right now. I think they ran out, but they're starting to make them again. I just couldn't find them on eBay or anywhere, so I'm going to order some more once those get re-released. And I'll have to make some more trees and things like that, and some other little scenery details, milepost signs, and other things like that for this curved turnout. Nothing over here. I haven't done anything else other than some minor repairs to the ballast. I finally corrected the spongy ballast area. I think I mentioned that in one of the last videos. I worked all in this turnout section here and modified some stuff. All the way through here, I redid all the ballast through this section here because it started cracking. So I redid all the ballast, and then on this section here, I was having an electrical short, and I went ahead and cut out this section of track, re-ran a feeder, and put new track in, painted it, and that repaired that. So all this track along the right-of-way here has been repaired and fixed. All the ballast issues have been addressed. Everything is nice and solid like a brick, so I don't have to worry about the cracking anymore for the most part. And it shouldn't be a problem anymore if I can get my large AC unit in here, because the benefit of getting a AC unit like I'm getting, it has heat, so I can control the climate out here with the unit. So that'll be able to control and obviously control a lot of the environment out here a lot better, so I'm not going to have to worry about as much rail expansion, kinking, ballast cracking, and stuff like that. So this is really the cure-all for this. Not saying I might not have some other issues, I very well could, but I'll be able to address them, I think, a little bit better. You can see coming over here where I'm at, I just started ballasting the second south module here in the yard. The yard section's been completely ballasted, everything's finally solid and joined up here. I got to take care of this seam by cutting in some foam and splicing things together to properly fill this in before I can take the ballast up to this. I'm cleaning the track. As you can see, it's pretty rough. I still got to grind some more ballast off the tops of the rails and then polish and touch up the paint on the track. The mainline tracks and the siding track have been prepped. The switch still needs painted here on the turnout for the E set-off, as it's called. This is technically going south, but it's called the E setup, where everything's in reverse on this in real life. So I got to do all that, but everything runs. I tested it, so we're doing good at it so far. I got some ballast and static grass ordered, so I'm going to be able to start ballasting these mainline tracks with the mainline grade ballast, this stuff here. Once all that's done, then I can do the static grass. Then once all that's done, we can come back in and start doing small details like little shrubs and bushes along the yard track sections, just like I did here. This concrete road will run all the way through here for the industrial section, and then somewhere in this area it dead ends, becomes a gravel road that runs along the tracks and then runs along the portion of the yard here. So let me see here. Other little things I wanted to point out. I recently got a notch static grass gun, so I've been able to do some much thicker static grass applications for the layout, and as you can see I laid in quite a bit of taller static grass in certain areas, making it look like weeds. Even in around this bushed area, there's a lot of this taller static grass. Same thing over here. I redid this whole area here by adding in a new grass alley, a new propane tank, these guards, and brand new bushier static grass. So you can see this is a much more authentic scene now with the proper fixed in details. Added some more static grass over to this corner. There's some other areas I can go back and add more grass to, but that'll all come in time. Areas like that, for example, I need to finish this with some more shrubs back in this area here, maybe back in this field. So there's a lot of things to do out here still. One last thing with the railroad, I am going to have to redo these yard tracks. Actually, as you can see, they're really bent. This is something I did not properly address the first time I built all this track. I'm going to have to take this track up and address the roadbed conditions, which will allow me to get the proper height, because as you can see I'm going to have to address all this. I am going to replace all these switches. That'll all have to get changed out, but other than that, we're making a lot of good progress, and I'm correcting a lot of these mistakes before we get too much more serious into this, but we're really starting to make some good progress, and I'm really happy out here. So that's going to pretty much wrap it up for the model railroad and for the layout and all my projects. I want to thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube for more content. Follow my work on Facebook and Instagram. My Instagram is Danny Dankinson, and my Facebook is Daniel Arnold. You guys can follow me there. Shoot me questions if you'd like. I always try to answer them. I can. Do my best there. Of course, leave comments here. But thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.